Hello, I hope everyone is well today. I would like to answer the question: does the University of El Salvador have the potential to continue with the online education after the pandemic? Well, but before answering, I would like to give a little context about the situation and how it started. Well, the first semester started normally, and the student and teacher had their different activity plans within the semester until the virus arrived in the country and the authorities and teachers decided to have quarantine. And many measures were thought through the use of guides, but the main thing that this type of measure were designed for a quarantine of a few weeks, and the teachers only change the time of the evaluation, but after the things change again and the quarantine extended much longer, and the university authority took new measures through classes and the use of social networks. And now I'm going to answer the question. Yes, if we had enough time to prepare, but we could continue, but today that it's impossible. The classes cannot continue in this way after the pandemic, because today we are facing many problems, and I will explain the problem that this type of teaching has. Well, the first one is the lack of human resources. Today, the University of El Salvador is working at its maximum capacity, but that is not enough because they cannot handle the demands of the students and graduates. Many of them have been unable to solve the different problems. All this happens because they do not have enough people who can meet different demands that the community has. For example, many students have decided to withdraw some subjects due to the inability to use the university email. And this happened because the authority do not have the capacity to hire more personnel who can help their students. And not only that, there are many students doing their theses, but they cannot deliver them since the professors do not have the ability to review them because they are overloading with work. Well, the second one is the lack of training. Nowadays, teachers have received a certain amount of training on the use of social networks and the use of the platform, but this training is not enough because many of the teachers are unable to use their computer and the use of platforms, but this has resulting in the inability of some teachers to take exams or, on rare occasions, suspension. This happens because the university has been unable to give them training. On the other hand, there are teachers who have not been able to take classes online, so many of they only use guides but do not explain how to solve the guides that leads many students to search for information on the internet or to copy the guides for someone else. To summarize, the online classes cannot continue after the quarantine because these measures are only temporary. For emergency, both students and teachers make a great effort to keep classes online, but there are many problems that still remain, such as lack of supervision by teachers during the exams. This can lead many students to make mistakes in solving questions or copy during the exams. Not only that, nowadays the university does not have the sufficient capacity to supervise the classes of many professors. So many teachers online only gives guides but do not explain the topics and leave the students to learn by themselves. Another problem is the lack of community between the students and teachers, because students who have questions must send message to the teacher, but it is not guaranteed that the teacher will answer, and the student must seek information from other classmates or the internet. Well, that's all for me. My classmate is going to continue.
Okay, as my classmate said, our topic is a question that is, does the University of El Salvador have the potential to continue with online education after the pandemic? Well, I would like to say yes, but the situation we are facing has affected all of us, and we have to change our way of life and try to improve ourselves despite the situation we are facing. We have to adapt the new normal, and education is no exception, regardless of the fact that our education system is in very poor condition. No one was prepared for this pandemic, and the problems that are generated when receiving virtual class are frustrating for children, adolescents, and university students. Now I'm going to focus on the lack of economic and technological resources leads to social and personal problems within each home. Well, experts in the psychological areas assure that no one was prepared for the above, but situation must be reinvented to achieve learning in all young people. And in rural areas, the problem is exacerbated since the percentage of students who have technology is minimal. Based on diagnosis and proposals made by undoubtedly more qualified experts, a recapitulation of them should be made. Fears inequalities based on the origin of families. Also, the gap in access to and use of digital resources in some homes. Also, the weakening of the role of the ministries of education. And also, the fragile situation of the university, gripped by their internal problems, the lack of resources, and their limited relevance of the states. During this pandemic, teaching has been related in maintenance and development measures, in COVID and recovery strategies. It has not been given due attention in the political and informational agenda. More focuses on the debate between life and economy. The pandemic has unleashed a huge effort to preserve the health of the population and the country's economic sectors, development, and the economy of workers. There is no recovery without paying attention to teaching, but no society can fully recover from the effect of this pandemic and return to normality, at least not more unfair and unequal than the previous one, without paying professional attention to education. If it is true that we don't want anyone be left behind, we must defend it with all the means at our disposal, just as we have done with healthcare and with the economy and employment. It is essential to take care of the immense educational need and respond strategically to attend not only to the breadth of life but also to the breadth of thought, which is also the breadth of life. It is essential and unavoidable to meet the need for the study of university students. Effort and institutional coordination are necessary to integrate those elements. Let us not fall into a deplorable role by neglecting teaching, Let us illuminate the post-COVID route with light of having a better education in our country. Only then, the University of El Salvador will have the potential to continue with the online education. And it's all for me. Thank you. And now my classmate Daisy going to continue.
We have listened to reasons why the University of El Salvador doesn't have the potential to continue with the online classes after this pandemic. So let's move to the third reason, and it is that the University of El Salvador have lack of access to the majority of educational platforms. If there is any platform or app using for teaching, it probably doesn't fit with all the qualities that an app should have. Why? Because, for example, I bring for you two apps, and the first one is Schoology. There is nothing wrong with this app, but even though you can upload videos, upload documents, upload pictures, audios, also you can make exams here. There is something wrong because talking about the communication is kind of hard because students don't have the opportunity to have face-to-face conversation with teachers. And when teachers are given documents for the students can learn, something happened. And as a teachers, we know that the environment students are exposed to is very important. So as a result, because students are not like having conversation face to face with teacher, students get bored. So that's why probably there is no meaningful learning. But in the other hand, we have Zoom. It say that this platform is very incredible, and it is almost the same as being in a classroom, being receiving classes with desks and in a room. So, but it's something that happened with this app is that this app is not free. You just have 40 minutes for free. But I consider as a teacher that 40 minutes are not enough for teaching. Why? Because probably students are not on time, and also teacher must share their knowledge and students must practice it. So at the end, probably teacher just can share, but students cannot practice. So that's why we have this application also that doesn't fit with all the qualities that application should have. So as you can see, we don't have platforms, good platform that can fit with all the qualities. We have platforms that you can like upload, for example, in school you can upload documents, etc. But you cannot have a conversation face to face with students. But in Zoom you have, but it must be being paid after 40 minutes. So the condition that the university has is that we don't have enough money to pay for an application as Zoom. So as a note, the University of El Salvador doesn't have the potential to continue with the online education after the pandemic. Why? Because the lack of training in human resources, the lack of economic and technological resources, and the lack of access to the majority of educational platforms. So I did a poll, and I found that 57% of students prefer being in presential classes than in online one. So that's why we don't have like the potential. The university don't have the potential because of these three reasons. Thank you for watching us, and that's all for us.